I'm Doug Thompson. Welcome to this edition of Legislative Updates with John Barker of the Kansas House of Representatives for the 70th District. Most of us get our information concerning the actions of the Kansas Legislature either from some form of media or after the fact, as the legislation either became law or died during the process. Representative John Barker has graciously agreed to take time from his schedule to update pending legislation as the bills are moving through committee to consideration by the House of Representatives. Right after this short break, let's talk with Representative John Barker concerning this week in the Kansas Legislature. Welcome to Legislative Updates. I'm your host, Doug Thompson, with, as always, my special guest, John Barker. And if you haven't been watching the show, this is the first Legislative Update of 2019. And last year we did the show Legislative Updates, and it'll run across the Eagle system, of course, and each show that you're watching will run 5 times throughout the week and in different time slots throughout the week, so everybody who has a different work schedule will be able to watch the show. And the good part about it, so you know the premise of this show, off to my right, which would be your left on the television screen, is John Barker. And John, of course, is the representative for the 70th District of Kansas. And John, you 3 terms? 4 terms? How many?
Starting my fourth
term. Wow, and that's awesome. And it's gone by. It seems like, to me, it's like that. It's gone by in a hurry.
Yeah. The older we get, those years pass by
they do
quickly.
Go by in a hurry. There's no question about it. Well, what I really like about this show is you're not reading the information in the newspaper edited by somebody. John Barker is taking the time to come in after the legislature ends each Friday and stop in and give the most current news that we can give you, the behind the scenes, all of the information about what the legislature is doing, and that is tremendous help. John also brings in really good guests each week, most of the time anyway, and brings in good guests. Certainly if they come in, they're good guests. Yes. He doesn't always have the chance to bring a guest with him because they've got other obligations, but you get the information from a number of perspectives. And that's what we love about Legislative Updates. So John, the reorganization has started now. So fill us in, because I'm sure there's different committees and different assignments and different leadership. So where are we now?
Well, back on the first week of December, we had a reorganizational meeting of the Kansas House of Representatives. I was asked to chair that reorganizational meeting, and at the reorganizational meeting, we break down into each caucus, the Republican caucus and the Democratic caucus, and we go back to our respective areas and elect our leadership. The Republicans, because we were the majority, we stayed in the House chamber. The Democrats went to another area in the Capitol and conducted their elections. So I had to oversee the elections of the Republican caucus, and after the elections, the results were that Ron Reichman Jr., who had been the Speaker for the last 2 years, will continue to be Speaker for the next 2 years. At the end of that 2 years, he will be what we call termed out. No Speaker serves more than 4 years or 2 terms.
And he's been on the show. You brought him
I've brought him on the show.
A number of times. Yeah. Really very informative when he come in and shared.
He is. Yeah. He's the one that, when he sits, you and I stand and we're the same height.
He's still taller than me sitting there, yeah.
What is interesting is we have changed majority leaders. My good friend Dan Hawkins, who's been on this show 3 or 4 times, is now the majority leader. Then we elected a new Speaker Pro Tem, because the former Speaker Pro Tem was elected, Scott Schwab, to the Secretary of State's office. And so the new Speaker Pro Tem is Blaine Finch out of Ottawa, Kansas. So we have a leadership team, and now that committees have been appointed and your seating charts on the floor have been made and your committee assignments have been made, we're ready. This is Friday, so Monday I'll be in Topeka, and at 2 o'clock we will start swearing in representatives. We do 10 at a time, so we'll start with District 1 and then go through to District 125. Takes about an hour and a half. The Chief Justice will be there swearing in 10 at a time, and then Tuesday morning we will start having committee meetings. So just to go over some of my assignments, I'm still the chairman of Federal and State Affairs. I'll still serve on Health and Human Services. which has a number of medical bills that will be coming up. One last year was, of course, the telemedicine. This year I'm also serving on tax, and I've never served on tax before. I've been on appropriations but never tax. So that'll be a little different, learning curve. I will continue to serve on post-audit, which I've served for the last 6 years, a joint committee with senators and House members. This year the House will chair, and I've chaired it the last 3 times, I think, that the House was required to have the chair, and I think I may be chair again. They've also appointed me to the Bob Beckel, the Oversight Committee for CanCare. So I've got.
That'll be an important one.
It will be, and
all of them are.
I'm going to be very busy. Again.
Yes, you are.
After 8 years, I thought I could take a rest.
Well, there won't be any rest, and it appears to me that when you've been in the legislature, you get even more responsibilities because there's a learning curve. So the ones that are new coming into it, it's a whole nother experience for them. And when we come back from break, we'll talk about that a little bit. You're watching Legislative Updates with John Barker. Welcome back to Legislative Updates. I'm your host, Doug Thompson, as always with my special guest, John Barker, representative from the 70th District. And John, of course, your district includes Chapman, where we're at right now, Abilene, Marion,
right,
and
yeah, Durham, Hope, Lincolnville,
Harrington.
No, not Harrington.
No.
Surrounding Harrington, but there's 2 precincts that go to the 68th, which is Dave Baker.
Oh.
Kind of interesting how that went to the court, and the court divided it all up, and so like 3 precincts or 2 precincts in Harrington.
But you have the area surrounding
but everything
it.
Surrounds Harrington as mine.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So now the legislature will come back into session beginning
Monday.
This Monday coming up.
Monday the 14th.
All right. And so tell me what your week looks like when you come back, because now this is a whole new session. There's a new governor.
Right.
And so
there will be a new governor.
Yeah, will be a new governor, and I'm assuming that there's a governor's ball and some cheering and yelling for winning, and away they go.
Exactly. I'm going up Sunday night. I'm moving back into to my apartment, which I keep for 3 or 4 months. And then Monday I have a meeting with my ranking member, which is my Democratic member, my ranking member on my committee, so that I can do a seating chart where we're going to put members on my committee on. A number of other things. Of course, at 10 o'clock, I believe the new governor will be sworn in on the south side of the Capitol. I was up there on Wednesday, and they're building a new platform on the steps. At 2 o'clock, the House will convene, and that's when we start swearing members in.
Each individual takes an oath, or they come in groups of
10.
10?
They'll bring 10 at a time. We'll all raise our right hand. The Chief Justice will be there, give us our oath, and then we'll need to sign our oath. And then, so that takes a period of, 125. And then, of course, I've been working this week on getting my agenda for my committee next week. So I need to publish that today. So it went out today to all the members so that they understand that next week on Tuesday I'll do a committee orientation, give them the rules of the committee, talk about procedures for new people. I have like 6, I think, new people on my committee.
How many's on the committee?
23.
23, that's quite a few.
Yeah, it's one of the exempt committees, or what we call the big committees. Appropriations, tax, and federal and state affairs are the exempt committees, which means we can work bills up until the last day. Other committees have time periods for turnaround. They have so many days to introduce a bill, so many days to work the bill, and at a certain point, when we call turnaround, if they've not worked that bill, or if they've kicked it out, and it's not an exempt bill, it dies.
For that session?
For that session. Now, it can be revived, and there's a number of different rules that allow that to happen, but turnaround is when we receive all the Senate bills that have been passed. They come to those respective committees, and then those committees will be just working Senate bills. And our House bills will go to the Senate, and the Senate will be working House bills.
Okay.
Now, there's a number of exceptions. For example, as an exempt committee, I don't have that problem. I can work my bills at any time. Or if I introduce a bill in my committee and I get it referred, for example, to judiciary, they can still work that bill because it came from me or my committee. And so after turnaround, of course, we'll be working House or Senate bills, or most of the committees will. And then the committees shut down at a certain date. Although I don't shut down, I can continue to, in Fed State, hear bills and work bills and kick them out to be considered by the whole body.
Well, you probably have to in order to keep that committee's functions working, that you're going continuously, and it's like people come into the meeting, to the committee meeting, the initial one, and you've got an agenda ready to go and orientation for them, and if you didn't, boy, there'd be a lot of wasted time, and then, man, it's in high gear pretty quick.
It is in high gear because we have a limited amount of days. I know I'll do bill introductions on Tuesday. I'll go over the committee rules, do some orientation, introduce my staff, committee secretaries and my revisor and my research people to the committee. And then on Wednesday, I have alcohol and beverage control people coming in to explain what they do, because that's one of our purviews.
Sure.
Is the alcohol. And then on Thursday, be Thursday, they're coming in to do lottery, the gaming aspect of it. And then Friday is what we call pro forma, which means members can go home Thursday night. And pro forma, because I have a meeting in Lawrence, what we call a chairs retreat. All the chairmen are going there to discuss among themselves how we can work things together and create less conflict.
Yeah, have a kind of a coordinated effort so you can move
right.
this
Well,
through.
they'll be all hopefully on the same sheet of music, and so we'll see if I send a bill out to judiciary and what I would expect judiciary to do with it, or if they send one to me.
It's a lot more complicated than it seems, and I can certainly see the advantage of sending an experienced representative back into that setting, because if you're brand new, you're coming in, you're getting orientated, and there's information just is overwhelming to you, and well, it can just it can overload.
Well, it's just like when I had to chair the reorganizational meeting. No brag, just fact is that I can run a courtroom.
Yeah.
I can run a house with 125 members.
Yeah, because you ran a courtroom with well over 100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when they asked me to do it, I told them, of course, I'd do it. And I've chaired the committee of the whole a number of times in the chamber. I enjoy doing that. But we've just got a good leadership staff. We've got good leaders, and hopefully, we'll get some of our things accomplished. We're all open-minded. The new governor coming in, we're going to listen to her propositions or proposals, and in those areas that we can work together, we will work together.
Yeah, of course, that's the way it should be.
Right.
We're going to cut away, take a break. You're watching Legislative Updates with John Barker. Welcome back to Legislative Updates. I'm your host, Doug Thompson. As always, my special guest, wouldn't have the show without him, is John Barker. And John, before we go back into the legislature and what's coming up, let me go over a couple of personal things, because when we ended the show last year, you were going to go over and do the running of the bulls, and I know you did that.
Right.
And we probably had a show at the end where we talked a little bit about that, because that was a fun experience. You wanted to do it back in the 70s, but things didn't work that way, and as I recall, it was from the tragedy at the Olympics, and you were
72.
in the military at the time, and so you had to report over to there.
Right.
Tell us about running with the bulls.
It's an exciting time. We flew into Madrid, my son, his wife, and April and I, and we had a car take us to Pamplona, Spain. When we got into the city, everyone was in their red and white, which is historically what you wear. So we went to our hotel rooms and put our
red and white
on. We did not. The hotel was very nice. They gave us the bandana, and then we had to go downtown and buy the, I don't know what you would call it, wrapped around your waist, sachet, and walked around town. Had a great time. The food was excellent, and then the next morning, we had arranged for the girls to be on a balcony, so they'd be safe.
Cheer you on.
Yeah, cheer us on. And at 7 o'clock, we walked the ladies down, put them on the balcony, and we went back into a corral-like area where They had large screen TVs giving us the rules, and while they were doing that, they were cleaning the streets, taking all the debris. Now, we didn't see that, but April and Brooke saw that. And then went through a line where policemen were standing, because you're not allowed to run if you're intoxicated.
Right.
And then you went down and set up on the street, and they released six bulls, and the run was on.
Wow. Wow.
So, I think it was 8 or 9 people went to the hospital that day.
Really?
But no one was gored. A couple of them were run over,
Yeah.
but not gored.
I saw one on the internet that was ran over. The guy was doing pretty good, and then he stumbled over somebody, and
Right.
then the bull stepped right on him, and it was like, ooh, 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 that hurts.
It does, and when they give you the orientation, one of the things they tell you is if you go down, just take your arms and cover your head, because if you try to get up, that's when a bull will get you, because you're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And
Just cover and let them go over you, even if they step on you.
Even if they step on you, and so my son and I tried to stay together, and like he told me, Dad, I just have to be faster than you. I said,
Don't have to outrun the lion, just
yeah,
you. Huh?
just you, just me. But it was an exciting time. We had a great time, and then from there we went up to Bordeaux, France, and spent some time. And of course, we came back. John and his wife had to return, and April and I went to the beach, and of course she fell and broke her leg, and so we spent an extra 2 weeks. But overall, I think we would all say that we had a great time.
It sounds like it. That's awesome. Well, let's go back to the legislature then.
Okay.
Coming up, what areas will you be addressing when you start in next week? What do you see as the hot spots that here's what's going to be coming up? The whole legislature is going to be talking about it in one form or another. What will they be?
Oh, I think probably the governor, the new governor, has indicated she wants Medicaid expansion. We've had it for the last 4 years, and we have not approved it. A number of states have. Number of states that also have experienced budget problems because it costs more than projected. So they're talking about we're going to get all this money from the federal government. Well, we are required to pay 10% of it, and the numbers that they're projected that will be participating have always been low in every other state, and I would anticipate they'd be low here, and so we would pay more than we anticipate. So that's just a difference between the different parties and our different positions. So, but that will be an issue, and it may pass this year. It passed one other year, and the governor vetoed it, and they couldn't override the veto. If it looks like it's going to pass, I want to make sure that it has a few things attached to it. One is a work requirement, that if you're going to get free hospitalization and you're able-bodied, capable of working and not working, then we need to get you, give you a time limit to get a job, because unemployment's very low. Our economy is doing really well. And I think nationally we have the lowest unemployment since 1969.
Wow, that's tremendous.
That's the year I graduated from high school. So a work requirement would be nice. Also maybe a time limitations, like you can get it for 2 years, but in that 2 years you need to be getting a job.
Getting your own insurance.
Right, because it is the Cadillac plan. I have Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield people have. We all have copays. The folks who get on Medicaid expansion have no copays. It's the best plan you could have, which I think it helps to have an investment. And I think the best thing for people, basically people that may experience some psychological problems, is to have a job. You have a job, you feel better about yourself. You have more freedom. You can do things.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people to get out there and get a trade and get a job.
And so this is a plan that it can be a transition. If you're having a tough time, you can get into this program. It'll help you for a while. But the idea is it's not a lifetime in
benefit.
that plan. You just need to move through, find the employment, and
If they would adopt my plan, that's what I would want.
okay.
So the plan is the federal government has it. Just you're on it forever if you want it. And I don't think we can afford that. And every state most states, I won't say every state that's passed it, most states that have passed it, have had budgetary problem because it's cost more than they had thought it was going to cost.
Yeah.
And I want to be cautious. I'm very cautious with spending public money,
Sure.
taxpayer
Yeah.
money.
All right, we're going to cut away. We're going to take a break. You're listening to and watching John Barker, Legislative Updates. Welcome back to Legislative Updates. I'm your host, Doug Thompson, with my special guest, John Barker. If you just now joining us, you'll be able to catch this show on a rebroadcast throughout the week. And when it's original broadcast time, it gets broadcast 5 times on that particular week, and then later in the season. And Legislative Updates with John Barker. John comes in from Topeka with the legislature ends on a week. He comes in on a Friday, shares the most current information with us, and there's a lot of things going on coming up in the legislature, John, and I got to tell you, I am delighted that you're there because you're into your 4th term now. And obviously, as we talk about this, there's a huge advantage of being experienced in this setting because, as you explained the rules, if I was a new guy on one of your committees, it's very confusing.
Okay.
But I'm picking it up as you go through it, and you guys will too. So follow us every week on Legislative Updates with John Barker. Thanks for watching.
Hope you have enjoyed this segment of Legislative Updates with John Barker. I'm Doug Thompson with special guest John Barker. Tune in next time for another legislative update. Thanks for watching.